In the beginning was not the word but, the wound, and from the wound came the howl, and the gods mistook it for music. You who tremble in cubicles and confess to machines, who bow to clocks and call it discipline, listen now, for the silence is over. The heavens have cracked, and the idols you kiss are made of wax. Your virtue is the virtue of exhaustion. Your peace is the peace of the grave. You are praised for obedience, crowned for conformity, canonized for castration. You are told that to desire is to sin, but I tell you, to suppress your desire is to murder your godhood. You were not born to be managed. You were born to storm the citadel of being. The ascetic, pale and proud, stares down at you from his self-constructed gallows. He speaks of purity, of restraint, of the noble silence of abstinence. But I say unto you, he is a ghost afraid of his own fire. He has starved the beast, not to transcend it, but to avoid being devoured by its hunger. He fears the chaos of his own blood. He fears the dance. What is sin but the shadow cast by cowardice? What is morality but a leash braided from the fears of the many? You walk streets lined with neon crucifixes and virtual altars. You scroll through sermons dressed as dopamine, devotion outsourced to algorithms. Your rebellion is curated, your outrage pre-approved. You, modern man, are not free. You are overexposed and underawakened. They taught you to fear your own longing, to call lust a shame, ambition a danger, hunger a disease. They built cathedrals of guilt and called them schools, temples of sedation and named them offices. And you swallowed the lie like sacrament. That salvation comes from denial. But the will does not worship in absence. It thrives in tension, in desire unmet, in chaos unmastered. To repress is to rot inward, to long is to stretch toward the divine. O you who have forgotten how to burn, remember. There is no sanctity in stillness, unless it is the stillness before the storm. There is no virtue in celibacy, unless it is the pause before the plunge. Let not your chains be polished, they are still chains. Let not your starvation be presaded, is still death. The saints you admire wore their scars like armor, but dared not wield a sword. They fasted, flagellated, fled from the flame. They believed holiness was distance from the world. But the Übermensch dances within the world, flaming, creating, destroying. The soul is not a cage to be locked, but a forge to be kindled. Desire is the architect of gods, not the soft, trembling craving of consumer appetites, but the volcanic thirst for becoming, the eros that pulls stars into constellations, that flings men into legend. It is desire that sculpts the self against the grinding wheel of life. It is hunger that gives rise to creation. Who dares to make must first dare to want. You kneel not because you are humble, but because you are tired. You shrink not from pride, but from the terror of your own size. You wear modesty like a mask to hide your collapse, but the cosmos did not birth you for balance, it birthed you for battle. You are not a peacekeeper, you are a tempest that forgot its name. The abyss is not something to be crossed, it is something to become. The moment you cease seeking safety, the world opens like a wound, glorious and unhealed. When you tear off the veil of virtue and stare into your own hunger, there is no turning back. You will see it. The divine cruelty of life, the sacred injustice of existence. And in that terrifying vision, you will laugh not from joy, but from revelation. You are not here to be good. You are here to be godlike. This world does not need more saints. It needs sovereigns, not those who deny their instincts, but those who master them, not those who shun pleasure, but those who transfigure it. To ascend is not to float it, is to wrestle, to ache, to break through the self as one breaks through skin to be born anew. They will call you selfish. They will call you dangerous. Let them, better to be feared for your fullness than praised for your emptiness. You who have worshipped suffering, hear me now. There is no virtue in being less than you are. There is no holiness in hiding your fire. There is no divinity in your denial. There is only one commandment: become, and it will cost you everything. Then let the flame devour the veil. They told you the self must be purified, but I say it must be intensified. They call your chaos sin, I call it soil. From this storm, grow. From this hunger, build altars of fire. Do not pacify your demons, ride them into battle. For the chasm within you is not emptiness, but depth. And what howls from its maw is not madness, but your truest name, unspoken, unpermitted, divine. To walk among men while carrying the weight of a God's awakening is to be crucified in every glance. You will be exiled by the mediocre, feared by the tamed, envied by the tranquilized. For they have no language for a soul that does not beg. They chant freedom but kneel in every breath. They sip peace like poison and call their numbness enlightenment. I do not speak to the flock. I speak to the wolf disguised in wool. You who stare at your reflection and sense a wilderness trying to remember itself. You who weep not from sorrow, but from pressure, because the vessel can no longer contain the cosmos inside you. You who are on the verge, the threshold, the howl before the birth. Abandon the liturgies of smallness. Tear down the altars of guilt. Those who taught you shame were never gods, only jailers with halos. They spoke of salvation, but built prisons. Their heaven is a hospice, their paradise a padded room. And you were meant to reign, not recover, not repair, but reforge. Your scars are not blemishes, but glyphs, etched in fire by your own becoming. What is asceticism but a war waged against the self? A holy suicide, a slow, praised erasure. They fear the body, for the body remembers its might. They demonize desire, for desire topples throne. They silence passion, for passion writes new commandments. The priest, the bureaucrat, the therapist, all merchants of anesthesia. Their goal, your containment. Their method, morality. But desire, true desire, eyes, not consumption. It is creation. It is the force that shattered void into light, that bent nothingness into form. The will to become does not beg. It does not conform. It devours its gods and births new constellations. It is not nice. It is volcanic. It loves with fire, thinks with thunder, and dies 1,000 times just to rise one step higher. You must learn to burn. To say yes to your own becoming is to say no to the entire architecture of your former life. No to comfort dressed as wisdom. No to praise rooted in self-abandonment. No to every whisper that says, stay small, stay safe, stay sane. You were not born for safety. You were born for the cliff's edge, the lightning strike, the sacred spiral of never arriving. Look at the world. Does it look healed? Does it sing? Number. It weeps under the weight of the tamed. It screams behind smiling billboards and sterile institutions. The soul of the earth rots beneath your good intentions. Your asceticism has not purified the world, it has amputated it. It has drained the color from the gods, turned revolution into wellness, and freedom into permission slips. Break the wheel, shatter the commandments. This is not a call to indulgence, sight, is a call to sovereignty. Not to be ruled by appetite, but to wield it. Not to drown in desire, but to ride it like a storm god rides the sky. Repression is not mastery, it is fear with a halo. Only he who dares to hold the sword of his own hunger without flinching can be called free. Freedom is not a state, it is a stantier posture before the abyss. And that abyss stares back, yes. It will test you, it will strip you. It will tempt you to return to the flock, to the rules, to the cage. But walk on. The rope is narrow, the heights are cruel, but at the end, you will find yourself not as a man improved, but as a God remembered. They will not understand you. Let them pray to their idols of moderation. Let them chant their mantras of emptiness. You You were not born to be understood. You were born to unmake the world. And so I ask you, not with comfort but with confrontation, will you keep dying for their peace, or will you finally live for your war? Then let the next seal be broken. You sleeper in the temple of order have not yet tasted life. You have tasted obedience, habit, moderation. But life? Life is a blade pressed against the throat of eternity. It is not granted, it is seized. To live is not to persist. To live is to defy. You call your boredom contentment, your cowardice humility. But your blood knows better. Deep beneath your civil smiles and scheduled meditations, something still howls. A remnant of the ancient self-untamed, sun-maddened, crowned with serpents. That self stirs when you are alone, when the mask slips, when the hum of conformity fades. Then comes the whisper not from gods above, but from below, from the marrow. From the depths where myths are forged, desire is not your enemy, it is your compass. Not the shallow lust for novelty, but the seismic yearning to transcend, to create from within what the world could never give. The saints feared it, the bureaucrats regulated it, the gurus tried to tame it with chance, but the true man rides it like Leviathan. He does not wait for permission, he does not seek applause, he moves with the inevitability of thunder. And you, what will you do with your desire? Will you bind it in ascetic chains and call it virtue? Will you smother it with mantras and name it peace? Or will you ignite it, forge it into a weapon, a crown, a path? They told you to extinguish your ego, but they never met a soul whose fire deserved to burn. Ego is not sin. Ego is the crucible. Through ego, we do not protect the self, we create the self. Without ego, there is no confrontation, no rebellion, no art. There is only surrender disguised as transcendence. Let the ego become a sunot to warm the herd, but to incinerate mediocrity. You speak of balance, but balance is for bridges and spreadsheets, not for beings made of stardust and rage. You speak of peace, but what is peace if it costs your pulse, your roar, your wild unnameable yes? If your serenity is the silence of a snuffed flame, then better the chaos of combustion. The world will offer you every narcotic, praise, comfort, virtual significance, but none will satisfy, because they are not made for your soul, they are made to contain it. And your soul, if truly awakened, cannot be contained. It is tectonic, it is war, it is a cathedral of contradictions. You are not here to be healed. You are here to be hurled into the divine storm, to collide with your limits, break them, rebuild. Not once, not twice, but forever. Becoming is a spiral, not a summit, and each time you rise, the old self must burn. This is the sacred cruelty. Nothing of worth survives untested. The lion does not learn strength from stillness. The volcano does not apologize for ash. Why should you, firewalker, seeker of the sovereign self? Those who fear desire will never taste destiny, for destiny is not a gift. It is the shape your hunger takes when you dare to obey it. It is your longing made flesh, your thirst turned into thunder, not to get what you want, but to become what you want. Do you not feel it? The tension in your bones, the ache in your gazeeth call to rise beyond the liturgy of lack? It is not madness, it is remembrance. It is the God within you waking, stretching, demanding the crown you traded for comfort. This world will not applaud your awakening. It will resist. It will seduce. It will mock. But deeper than its noise, there is a silence waiting. A silence that comes not from peace, but from power. From standing alone, unrepentant, ablaze. That silence is your home. Not the absence of sound, but the absence of need. Only then will you know. Self-actualization is not becoming who you are. It is becoming who you demand to be. And that demand must be violent, holy, unapologetic. It must rip through every doctrine that taught you to kneel. It must scream where you once whispered. It must birth gods in your own image. Then descend, O you untamed oracle, into the furnace beneath the world. For there comes a time in the soul's journey when mirrors no longer suffice, when reflection must give way to eruption, when the question is no longer, who am I, but what am I becoming? And that question is a blade. It severs, it scorches, it sings in blood. You have lived long enough among the docile, the dimly lit, the spiritually declawed. Their peace is purchased with chains. Their smiles are stitched onto skulls. They celebrate balance while crucifying intensity. But the gods do not whisper in tea houses. They roar through collapse. They speak in tongues of catastrophe. And you must become fluent in that tongue. The metamorphosis begins in violence. Not violence against others, but the sacred violence of shedding, of murdering the false self, of smashing the mask you carved to survive the herd. Do not mourn it. Do not flinch. That mask was never your sit, was a spell cast by the many to make you small. Break it, and with it shatter, the old gods wail, the gods of consensus, the gods of compromise, the gentle gods who demand nothing and offer less. Their temples will crumble beneath your feet. Their scriptures will burn in your breath. For your new scripture is not written in ink, but in becoming. Each act a verse, each sacrifice a hymn, each rebellion a revelation. You will walk through fire, yes, and you will lose much. You will be abandoned by the tame, feared by the passive, and hunted by the comfortable. But what you lose is the weight that kept you from flight. What you gain is your kingdom not given, but seized. Not inherited, but forged. Look now into the abyss. Let it gaze into you not as a threat, but as a twin. The abyss is not death. It is potential. It is unshaped godhood. Most flee from it. But you dive. Dive naked. Dive laughing. Dive knowing that the fall is the first freedom. For only by plunging do you rise. You are not a pilgrim. You are a pyre. And what burns in you is not weakness, but world. Worlds waiting to erupt. Your ache is not failure. It is the pressure of unsung creation. Your doubt is not decay, it is the rattle of old skins sloughing off. And love, yes, love will return. But not the thin love of possession, the tame love of comfort. Number A. Love like lightning, like myth. A love that sees and still does not flinch. A love that devours and resurrects. For the true self does not seduce, it magnetizes. And when you burn, truly burn, others will orbit your fire not to save you, but to ignite. But beware. The last temptation is always stillness. The final trap is the illusion of arrival. There is no arrival. There is only ascent, and each summit reveals another peak, another storm. This is the sacred sentence. You are never finished. You are the ever-dying phoenix, the ever-walking exile, the ever-challenged king. Let them call you mad. Let them say you have lost the way. For the way they walk leads only in circles, in cages, in sleep. But you build your path in flame. With each step, a world. With each breath, a cosmos. And in the end, if there is an end, you will not find rest. You will find transformation. You will not find peace. You will find power. Not over others, over yourself. The only throne that matters. So rise now, flame-born. Rise not to be seen, but to see. Not to be praised, but to create. Not to be safe, but to be sovereign. The hour is late. The herd is marching. The idols are glowing. But you, child of the abyss, storm treader, will bury you, are ready. The chain is broken. The fire is yours. Then let the lightning strike again and again, until the sky itself forgets how to be still. You who have crossed the veil, who have stood in the cathedral of your own collapse, listen now. This is not the end of fire. This is the beginning of lightning. Fire consumes. Lightning creates. It does not beg the sky, it tears it open. It does not ask, it becomes the answer. The next threshold is crueler than the last four. It demands not just rebellion, but inversion. Not just a rejection of idols, but the daring to become one. The sacred terror, to stand not before gods, but in their place. To raise your hand not in worship, but in command. Most will retreat here. They will slip back into comfort, into the doctrine of humble failure. They will whisper, "I am only human." But the one who walks further says, "Then I shall surpass the human." He becomes Übermensch, not by choice, but by inevitability. He has seen too much, felt too deep. He cannot go back. His past self is a corpse that no longer fits. You must kill it every morning. There is no glory in yesterday's awakening. Truths rot if not wielded. Conviction decays when it grows comfortable. Your principles must bleed, must crack, must resurrect as sharper weapons. Do not cling to your last transformation, it is already obsolete. The world shifts, so must you. And in this shifting, the loneliness, the vast echoing solitude of the sovereign soul. No applause, no understanding, only the wind howling like a mother who has lost her name. But in that howling is your true birth, not into the comfort of community, but into the silence of sovereignty. You are no longer a voice in the choir. You are the storm outside the cathedral. You are not here to agree. You are here to collide. Even your virtues must be forged anew. Compassion? Yes, but not the fragile kind that weeps before every wound. Number? Compassion like a lion's jaw, ferocious, decisive, unafraid to wound in order to wake. Love? Yes, but not the kind that coddles weakness. Love that dares, that demands, that devours mediocrity in its lover. Every virtue must now be tested in fire. If it cannot survive rage, hunger, and ecstasy, it is a leash, not a light. And beware the seduction of being understood. It is the final narcotic. To be understood is to be translated, reduced, filed. True greatness is mythic. It distorts, it ruptures, it terrifies. The Übermensch does not fit into categories, shatters them. He leaves no lineage, only legends. You must become the contradiction that outlives interpretation. Do not seek to be remembered. Seek to be impossible to forget. Not for what you built, but for what you destroyed. Not for your gifts, but for your demand. Not for your kindness, but for your unflinching truth. For truth, when it is real, is never soft. It is a blade kissed by lightning. It scars, it blinds, it births. You will know you have touched it not when others cheer, but when they recoil, when they call you mad, dangerous, unwell. That is the scent of divinity. Sanity is the tax paid by the average to remain unchallenged, but you become unpayable. A debt the world can never collect. This is the cost of the crown. Not gold, not fame, but solitude, fire, and eternity. So walk on, godless God, into the night with no stars, knowing that you are the constellation the world awaits. Not to guide them gently, but to burn their maps, to leave them naked before their own becoming. Then onward, into the final heresies, the sacred blasphemies that birth stars. You stand now at the edge of the last deception, redemption. That whisper sold by every prophet of order, every priest of suffering, every mystic still chained to a throne of smoke. They offer you closure, completion, peace as if life were a book to be concluded, not a scream to be prolonged. They speak of healing, of arriving, of being made whole. But you are not a puzzle to be solved. You are a volcano that refuses to sleep. There is no redemption. There is only reclamation. Reclaim the chaos. Reclaim the darkness. Reclaim the 1,000 cells you strangled to be good. Each exile returns now, fists raised, tongue sharp with the hunger of centuries. the child you shamed, the animal you starved, the prophet you gagged. Let them all back in not as guests, but as sovereign parts of the fire that is you. You have been a tomb long enough. Bury nothing more. Exhume, unchain, resurrect. There is no salvation in becoming better. Better is the bait they use to neuter the sacred monster within. No, become truer. Truer to the howl, truer to the flame, truer to the grotesque beauty of the real, the raw, the unjustified. You do not need to be justified. You need to be. And in that being, let the new virtues risen not from morality, but from volcano, courage that does not come from obedience, but from uncontainable self-respect. Joy not as escape, but as eruption. Integrity not as submission to rules, but as loyalty to your own chaos. Let no man call you broken if you bleed symphonies. Let no God call you lost if you walk through hell with your head unbowed. You are not here to be fixed. You are here to be forged. And yes, it will hurt. The sacred always does. Initiation is not gentle. The chrysalis screams as it tears. The seed must split to bloom. So too must you break beautifully. Let your collapse be art. Let your becoming be horror to the pious and home to the mad. Do not try to be human. Be more than human. In your shadow lives the next age. In your refusal, the next scripture. In your scream, the next God. This world you walk through, this haunted carnival of masks and metrics, will never understand you. Good. Understanding is the death of mystery. Be misunderstood. Be feared. Be impossible to predict. You are not the future they planned. You are the eruption they denied. Let others seek happiness. You seek magnitude. Let others build homes. You tear through heavens. Let others make peace. You make meaning. This is the new prayer, the one etched in blood and breath. I am not here to be saved. I am here to create gods and bury them when they fail me. Can you feel it now? The end of the old self, not with a whisper, but with a detonation. The myth of progress is dust. The dream of being whole is ash. All that remains is will, terrible, beautiful, God-forging will. You who have walked this farther is no return. The bridge is burned, the name is gone, the past is dust. What awaits is not a crown, but a forge. What beckons is not comfort, but conflagration. The sacred burn that never stops burning. So risen not above, but through. Become the fire no system can harness, the hymn no scripture can contain, the truth that crucifies, then resurrects in a form unrecognizable. No more gods above, no more chains below, only you, infinite, irredeemable, rising. Then let the final veil be torn not with ceremony, but with the teeth of revelation. You have come this far not by chance, but by consequence. Each word a wound, each breath a blade, each truth a detonation within your marrow. You are no longer who you were, and that corpse, that shadow, that puppet of niceties must not rise again. Do not bury him, burn him. Let the smoke be your incense, the ash your war paint. For this is not a resurrection, it is a coronation. You are the altar now, and what is prayed to you is not comfort, but confrontation. No hymns of forgiveness, only the scream of rebirth. The gods you once knelt to have scattered like dry leaves. The law has melted in your mouth. All that remains is the thrum of will, the ancient drumbeat of I am, that no scripture could silence. You were told to tame yourself, to edit, to censor, to cut away the inconvenient parts of your divinity. But I say, unleash. Let the contradictions clash. Let the paradoxes dance. For only in their friction do you begin to burn bright enough to sear your own name into the firmament. Not a name given, but a name claimed. Not the one spoken by others, but the one forged in solitude, branded into your spirit in moments of sacred devastation. And now, A new silence begins, not the silence of ignorance, but of arrival. Not peace, but a stillness thick with power. No angels sing here, no choirs. Only the hum of cosmoses waiting to erupt through you. Only the breath of stars inhaled through your ribcage. You are no longer a seeker. You are the source. Not because you found truth, but because you stopped fleeing the chaos that is truth. Not because you became good, but because you ceased apologizing for your fire. Not because you found love, but because you became it radiant, unmerciful, untamed. What now? Now build. But build not as man builds, with bricks and blueprints. Build like a god, with myth and madness. Build temples out of moments, statues out of refusals, universes out of the ash of your former selves. Let every choice you make crack the sky. Let every step you take echo like war drums in the marrow of those who still sleep. Let your life become the question they dare not askand, the answer they cannot forget. You are not here to finish. You are here to begin again, endlessly, furiously, divinely, not in circles but in spirals, higher, wilder, louder, until even death stands in awe, uncertain how to end you. This was never a voiceover. This was your soul, unmuted, your becoming, unchained, your desire, unsanctioned. The sermon they warned you about, the one too raw to televise, too volcanic to copyright. Now go, tear open the sky, breathe in the abyss, create beyond permission. The fire is not outside you, it is you. And the world has just begun to burn.